And welcome everyone to South Huron Council meeting, September 15th, 2025. And welcome those of the public that are attending here this evening and members of the public that are joining us to present later on this evening, which is great. And we thank our staff for being here tonight to provide this best information that we can make the best decisions on behalf of the municipality of South Huron. There's an amendment to the budget under item 10.2.1 and 10.3.3, some staff reports. So we will call this meeting to order and we'll ask everyone to rise for O Canada, please. And again, welcome everyone. Please ensure your cell phones are turned off or on mute, and we will start our meeting with the land acknowledgement. As we gather, we are reminded that the municipality of South Huron is situated on Treaty 29 land that is steeped in rich Indigenous history and home to First Nations, Inuit, and Métis people today. And as a community, we have the responsibility to honor and respect this territory's significance for the Indigenous peoples who lived, continue to live upon it, and whose practices and spiritualities were tied to the land and continue to develop in relationship to the territory and its other inhabitants today. In the spirit of reconciliation and truth, we acknowledge the Anishinaabe and the Haudenosaunee peoples on whose traditional territory we are meeting. Thank you for that. And item number 3, Ms. Basula-Collison, please.
That South Huron Council approves the agenda as presented.
And a mover, please. Moved by Councillor Oak, seconded by Councillor Vaughan. Any discussion? All the question, all in favor? Carries with 6. And for the record, Deputy Mayor is not here this evening. And next item will be disclosure of pecuniary interest and the general nature thereof. Are there any disclosures at this time? Not seeing any. Moving on to presentations and then delegations. And we welcome our friends Laura and Charlene to the table tonight. Thank you very much. Proceed whenever you're ready. You have about 10 minutes.
Can you hear me? Excellent. I want to thank you for allowing the Sunset Community Foundation along with the South Huron Advisory Committee to present our request today. My name is Laura Golding and I'm proudly a member of the board of directors of the Sunset Community Foundation and the current chair of the South Huron Advisory Committee. I would like to ask council as a whole, does everybody know about the support that the Sunset Community Foundation is providing in South Huron and the funds distributed through the South Huron Advisory Committee? Excellent. The Sunset Community Foundation is a charitable organization that manages permanent endowment funds, distributing and providing community leadership as a resource and a partner. We work to make the communities we support stronger, more vibrant, more just, and equitable. In South Huron, through the granting process that is administered through the Volunteer South Huron Advisory Committee, we provide needed financial support for agencies and groups that benefit residents here. The areas of support are children and youth, family and community, health and physical activity, education, social services and low-income impact, preservation of the environment, diversity, equity and inclusion, and arts and culture. Honestly, it is a thrill to have a voice at the South Huron Advisory Committee table filled with community-minded residents that volunteer their time to drive the support of local initiatives. These grants can act as a launch pad for community events, programs, and improvement right here in South Huron. Eco Exeter, for example, is the South Huron District High School group of students that are making a difference through environmentally sustainable actions. In 2024, we provided a grant that supported their first eco market in November. If you didn't get there, the reason was likely the weather. It was pretty horrendous, but a ton of people showed up anyway. The idea was to bring together local artisans and those that provide alternatives to single-use plastic options. The impacts were environmentally positive, educational benefit of the area. The group has interest in holding another market in the future. Huron Waves, I'm sure each one of you has gone to a Huron Waves event. It's a musical festival featuring local, provincial, and national and international musical talent. This not-for-profit organization received grants that supported the National Indigenous Peoples Day tribute concert in 2024, where Susan Glukark performed. This year, they received funds for the Listen to the Trees event. It's an immersive experience held on the Morrison Dam and at the Curling Club earlier this year. Rave reviews about this because, again, it integrated a number of different areas that we support: arts and culture, preservation of the environment, family and community, health and physical activity, and education. The Exeter branch of the Huron County Library has received funds from us as well. In 2022, they received their first hydroponic indoor garden, thanks to funding because of the Sunset Community Foundation. And this year, the first Pride Art Show happened. Through these funds, we are seeing local education, diversity, equity, and inclusion, as well as arts and culture. The United Way of Huron-Perth, they supported the South Huron we supported them to provide the South Huron Access Center, which is located right downtown, as well as the Community Volunteer Tax Clinic. This is a good one for everybody because it does impact the entire family. This provides access to tax specialists for those that have not been able to complete their personal taxes, in some cases for years. This provided access to returns that made a huge impact on many households. The overall impact, thanks to our support of the United Way of Huron-Perth, is diversity, equity, inclusion, and low-income impact. Exeter Pentecostal Church, some might know it better as Noah's Ark. Located at the south end of Exeter, this community hub has been pivotal for connecting individuals with services that they need. In 2021, we were able to provide a grant that supported their expansion into new areas that included laundry services, showers, and increased refrigeration for food distribution. In 2024, we helped fund a skills development class for those individuals that would most benefit from it. These grants supported, again, education, social services, and low-income supports, as well as family and community. Since 2020, the South Huron Community Foundation through the Sunset Community Foundation through the South Huron Advisory Committee has distributed over 62,000 in grants to 27 agencies. What we have up on the screen there is kind of a Coles Notes of the different organizations that we have supported. None of this is possible without incredible donors. We currently have 10 funds in South Huron, which includes the Municipality of South Huron's Vitality Fund. We are infinitely grateful for each and every donation we receive, as it helps us support others in perpetuity as the demands increase for support in South Huron. What we have found is the grant requests are increasing, the fund requests are increasing, and costs continue to climb for these groups to continue to run the programs and put on events that they do. The best way for the foundation to meet the growing needs is to increase the funds that we invest and draw investment earnings from in order to provide those grants year over year. Today, myself and Charlene Macheline, who is the chair of the Sunset Community Foundation, request, or I should probably word this better, request council to continue support through choosing to commit to growing, this is a mouthful, commit to growing the South Huron Vitality Fund this year by $25,000. We understand the time, the concerns regarding subjectivity, and that the expense of administration of individually receiving funding requests is extensive for a municipality. The Sunset Community Foundation has the means, the desire, and the volunteers in place, and the track record to continue to support the agencies and groups in South Huron without that subjectivity or the concern for that. The Sunset Community Foundation and the South Huron Advisory Committee ask the Mayor and Council for your commitment of $25,000 to be added to your Vitality Fund, which we will ensure continues to support in perpetuity in the community of South Huron. I'd like to thank you for your time, and if there are any questions, please feel free to ask.
Very well done, Laura. Thank you very much for your time and your passion, of course. And as we've said before, and I've told you before, communities are always judged on how they treat the most vulnerable. And this program that is existing now, as I've been quoted before, takes the politics out of it. Are there any questions from members of council at this time? Councillor Neep, go ahead.
No questions, just more of a statement. Thank you for the presentation and all the work that you and your fellow board members do to enrich the lives of those in our community. It does make a big impact. And one thing, and I know I sound like a broken record every time the Community Foundation comes up, I talk about the Community Safety and Wellbeing Plan, which outlines a lot of targets for investment in vulnerable communities, and the Sunset Community Foundation actively provides funding to organizations that help those vulnerable communities. So I think this is one thing we've talked about as a council. Is there enough funding to provide support to hit those targets in our community safety and well-being plan? And I think we're doing that through activities like donating to the Sunset Community Foundation, as well as the United Way, and supporting arts and culture with the Huron Country Playhouse. So thank you for your work, and I'm hoping that we can continue to support the foundation in the future. And I know usually at delegations we wait till the next meeting to have a discussion, so I'm looking forward to the discussion at the next meeting.
And just a comment, would you be able to tell us, with the income tax clinic, how much money has been returned back into the region, and how many families were impacted in that number?
Am I on? I wish I had that number, and today while I was going through the information, because that is one of the most compelling arguments. And again, when the United Way came and presented to us, they were able to give us substantive numbers, but it is millions of dollars and hundreds of families that become impacted. So each year there are that many people within our region that are impacted by those. I wish they were a bit more substantive so that it was something that you guys could write down and be quite clear about, but I will use the words millions and hundreds of individuals.
In your experience, what would those people who received that money through the income tax program, what would they have spent that money on? Do you have any idea? Like food, rent, clothing, things like that?
So most of the money that came back into the community were actually folks receiving the, child tax benefit. So a lot of these are, families, potentially single parents. So I would imagine a lot of the money that came back into the community, we're looking at things like, rent, food, especially those sort of things targeted towards, young children, potentially other childcare and healthcare related expenses.
No, thank you very much. I remember that conversation at one of the meetings, and I was quite astounded that, there's a lot of money coming back that they would not have had, and they would have had to rely on some other social agency to get that money to survive, literally survive.
Yeah,
And
so a lot of people don't realize that when you're submitting your income taxes, you probably associate it with paying, but actually there's a lot of credits that are available to these sorts of families. And so the grant that we gave was actually for those that are tax specialists to pay, gas and minimal expenses for them to, donate and volunteer their time. So it was a pretty amazing program for sure.
I appreciate your time on that. Any other questions at all at this time? Councillor Vaughn, go ahead, please.
Yes, Laura, thank you very much for the presentation. I think the foundation does good work. And there were a lot of numbers included in this presentation, and it took me a little while at home to decipher things. What I thought was encouraging was that at least with last year's figures, before the $25,000 ask, it looks like the total fund being around $350,000. The Vitality Fund, the Municipal Vitality Fund, is about half of that amount. And so, yes, the family donations have contributed considerably. But I noticed that, I knew that there was another fund that you, as a group, created maybe 6-8 months ago to allow people to not necessarily have to go into the 50,000, but for contributions of 500. And so my question is, how is that fund working since you last or since you introduced it?
Great question. Very excited about that. That is called our 500 Club. And the intention is to allow, as you said, individuals that want to make smaller donations to participate in perpetuity. The whole idea, again, is to ensure that there are funds long term. So when I donated, it's publicly available to know that I did donate. It gives me the chance to be a part of this big change that can happen. So we have reached $8,500 in that fund, which is excellent when we're looking at $500 increments. And yeah, we're quite proud of how that's coming together. So while we can see increases in those areas, and we do keep driving forward each one of these areas, we also understand that the needs do continue to increase. Those costs just keep, we had more grant requests this last year than we have ever had. And the requests got into the $10,000 figures. And while we couldn't satisfy that in a lot of cases, in any cases, let me be honest, we couldn't give anybody $10,000. But what we could do was give a portion. So as those requests become more dear, we know that we have to make sure that we have a larger fund coming together to support those groups. We also understand that a group in South Huron, when looking at Ontario funds, has, well, we'll call it equal opportunity, may not have the sense that they could access those funds, where a South Huron community fund group, they can see some real returns from that. Their odds of receiving those funds increase, which is great to see. And it really does make for a pretty well-rounded community, and it does support each one of those different initiatives. It is not very narrow. We do try and reach those 8 different areas of funding.
Great, thank you very much. Any other comments or questions at this time? Not seeing. Thank you very much, ladies. Well done. Appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Right. Okay, Ms. Masood Carlson.
To the mayor, just before they leave, Stacy sent this through to me. 21 volunteers did 922 tax returns for a total of $1.8 million.
Thank you, Stacy.
Thank you, Stacy.
Okay.
Okay, great. Ms. Masood Carlson.
That South Huron Council receives the delegation regarding an update on the Sunset Community Foundation as presented by Laura Golding and Charlene Matchelem.
And the mover, please. Moved by Councillor Neeb, seconded by Councillor Oak. Any discussion? Call the question, all in favor, and that carries with 6. Thanks again. Thanks again. Okay, next item, go to the no public meeting, 8.1, please.
That South Huron Council adopts the minutes of the regular council meeting of September 2nd, 2025 as printed and circulated.
And a mover, please. Moved by Councillor Neeb, second by Councillor Dietrich. Any discussion? Call the question, all in favor, and that carries with 6. Thank you. 9.1.
That the correspondence of the following committees and or boards be received as presented to council. Blue Water Recycling Association, proposed amendments to the Resource Recovery and Circular Economy Act.
And a mover, please. Moved by Councillor Neeb, second by Councillor Oak. Any discussion? Councillor Oak, go ahead, please.
Thank you, Mayor. Just wondering if there's anything that we could do by resolution here to support the BRA with their request.
Through the mayor. We have before done that, and we can certainly, if we can draft up a resolution, is that something you want to proceed with now?
I'd like to, because we do have a lot of apartments above the businesses in downtown at this point in time that might not be able to take part in the recycling program if the new rollout with small businesses not being included here. And some other areas. So I think the more we can help rally the troops, the better.
Yeah, and this is a letter that's been sent to all member municipalities in the 5th BRA. So any other comments at all? Councillor Bond.
Yeah, I'd just like to say I was thinking very similarly to Councillor Oak that it would be good for us to have a resolution that would go to potentially Lisa Thompson, our rural affair, and Todd McCarthy, who's the Environment, Parks and Conservation. Because just the way that that letter was written, it gave me the distinct impression that if we're only looking at 2% of ICI type properties, that there may actually be some properties that we have today that we do service that we'd have to not service. So that definitely sounds like a step backwards to me. And if producers are taking over the responsibility for the cost, I think the more voices that say step up and take responsibility for all of the costs, maybe there's some power in numbers.
Very good. And I see where this is heading. So I'm wondering, we'll have Madam Clerk when she prepares that resolution, but do you want to have it sent to Amo and the cast of Ben-Hur perhaps to make sure everybody knows rather than just Lisa and Todd? Councilor Oak?
Yeah, I think so. It was one of the questions that was asked down at AMO during the ministers' forum, and so it's on the radar of a number of municipalities. But I think we need to make our voice heard to our local MPP as well.
Okay, thank you. I'll wait for Madam Clerk to prepare that. Any other comments while we're waiting? Okay, not seeing. Go ahead.
That South Huron Council supports the BRA September 2nd, 2025 correspondence regarding proposed amendments to the Resource Recovery and Circular Economic Act, and that the supporting resolution and originating documentation be circulated to the Premier, the Minister of Environmental Conservation and Parks, MPP Thompson, AMO, BRA, and all Ontario municipalities.
So we'll deal with the first motion, my error on that, and then we can go with the second motion, okay? So we have that moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion on that? Call a question, all in favor? That carries with 5, sorry. Thank you. And then now we'll read the motion here.
Apologies. So that South Huron Council supports the BRA September 2nd, 2025 correspondence regarding proposed amendments to the Resource Recovery and Circular Economy Act, and that the supporting resolution and originating documentation be circulated to the Premier, Minister of Environment, Conservation and Parks, MPP Thompson, AMO, BRA, and all Ontario municipalities.
You're a mover for that? Moved by Councillor Oak, second by Councillor Vaughn. Any discussion? Call the question, all in favor? That carries with 5. Thank you. Okay, next item, 10, please.
Okay. The South Huron Council received staff report CSD 14-2025 SHRC high volume low speed fans budget amendment, and that South Huron Council approves the 2025 budget amendment for the purchase and installation of 2 high volume low speed fans at the South Huron Rec Centre to the upset limit of $30,000, excluding HST, to be drawn from the working fund reserve.
And a mover, please. Moved by Councillor Neeb, seconded by Councillor Oak. Any discussion? Councillor Dietrich, go ahead.
Has this been an ongoing problem for 10, 15 years, or does it just happen to appear lately?
Go ahead, Amanda.
Through the mayor, so staff did start to notice these issues more when the new dehumidifiers came into the South Huron Recreation Center. So it is about 2 years now that they've noticed these issues, and I've tried to work through them.
Councillor Dietrich.
So this would be because of the addition that went on that's the last 2 years, or?
Through the mayor. So it's basically what it comes down to is we used to have one large dehumidifier. Now we have 2 smaller ones. They're still able to operate within that space. It's just the conditions that they're operating in aren't ideal for them to be operating efficiently. So what we're really lacking in that space right now is the airflow, and we're competing with the heat on the east and west side of the building with all the doors opening and shutting. So the dehumidifiers do work. We just need to optimize the environment in which they do work in.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Dietrich. Go ahead.
I have one more comment. It said in the report here that it was going to be considerable less work for the employees. So maybe we could eliminate one employee to pay for this.
Oh, I don't know if that's appropriate, Councillor Dietrich. Yeah, the comment I don't think is appreciated. Thank you. Any other comments at all? Okay, we have a mover and a seconder. If there's no further discussion, I'll call the question, all in favor. And that carries with 6. Thank you. Next item, please. 10.2.2.
That South Huron Council received staff report CSD 15-2025 Exeter Hawks camera agreement, and that South Huron Council approves the draft agreement attached in principle, and that the bylaw be brought back for the required 3 readings.
And a mover, please. Moved by Counselor Oak, second by Counselor Neeb. Any discussion? Call the question. All in favor? And that carries with 5. Thank you. 10.2.3.
That South Huron Council received staff report Fire 06-2025 Exeter Fire Station Generator Replacement Project Tender Award, and that South Huron Council accepts the tender received from Darling Electric Limited in the amount of $49,350.49, including HST.
And a mover, please. Moved by Counselor Oak, seconded by Counselor McLeod Haggett. Any discussion? Call the question. All in favor? And that carries with 5. Thank you. Next item, please. 10.3.1.
That South Huron Council received staff report ID 07-2025 for Ministry of Transportation Connecting Links Program Intake 10 Project Update, and that Council authorize a scope change to include the replacement of sanitary sewers and water mains within the project limits.
And a mover, please. Moved by Counselor Neeb, seconded by Counselor Oak. Any discussion? Counselor Oak?
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. Just a question. It did comment that there would be potentially some of the 2026 Urban Street reconstruction projects would be deferred into 2027, which I just wondered which projects are you're looking at maybe deferring.
Okay. I'll let staff decide who's going to speak to that.
Through you, Mayor Finch. It's the 5 streets that were originally proposed for 2026, which would be Gidley, Baldwin, Alexander, and Gidley, Baldwin, Alexander, McConnell. I may have forgotten one.
Gidley, Hardley, Alexander, McConnell, and Baldwin.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions? Okay, not seeing any. We have a mover and a seconder. Call the question. All in favor? And that carries with 6. Thank you. Next item, please.
That South Huron Council receives staff report ID 08-2025, the 2026-2027 Intake 11 Ministry of Transportation Connecting Links Program, and that Council confirms that Main Street South reconstruction, Victoria Street to Sanders Street, is a top priority project for the 2026-2027 Intake 11 Ministry of Transportation Connecting Links Program, and that Council confirms that capital funding is available for the municipal portion of this project, and that Council confirms if the MTO Connecting Link application is successful, that the municipality will proceed with the project in accordance with the timeline specified in the application.
And a mover, please. Moved by Counselor Neeb, second by Counselor Oak. Any discussion? Counselor Vaughn.
Yeah. So we have been presented at tonight's council meeting with 3 projects that are all substantial from a dollar perspective in terms of what we would be spending on either water or sewer. And so when I look at this MTO Connecting Link grant, I think that's great that we have another opportunity to look at another potential grant. But I'm also concerned from the perspective of we're awaiting a Watson fee study. I really am beginning to feel with these projects and the substantial amounts of them that I don't really have a good handle on what we might be presenting to our constituents as the utility fees for the next 5 years. We haven't had that report since 2019, and so many things have changed. We have approved projects, we have deferred projects, and so I know that in our priority worksheet that came out in June, a due date of the Watson study coming up for the 3rd quarter, which is the end of September. And I've had a couple of discussions with Rebecca today because I'd like to feel a little bit more comfortable that where we're going to end up from a potential fees going forward on utilities, that we're not looking at some incredible amount of money like 25% or, but I don't know. That's just the biggest thing that's going through my head right now. So, bottom line, I am just wondering if we can look at deferring a decision on this. I see that the intake deadline, I think it's 5 p.m. on November 13th. I'm not suggesting we go all the way to November 13th, but if there's a way to get some indicator from the Watson fee study by the end of September or early October, so that we could have an understanding of where we're actually heading with the utility fees for our constituents before we actually approve yet another project.
Councilor Oak, you had a comment?
Yeah, I agree with Councillor Bond that in light that there is a bit of time here to gather some more information to find out what's in the Watson study or what isn't in the Watson study. We have budget deliberations starting the end of September, and we carry on into October, where maybe the end of October, where the Watson study is likely going to be around, and the first blush at the budget. Maybe I agree with maybe holding off until we have those late October, that late October information. I'm not against looking at government, upper tier government help with these projects, but it's just nice to know where we're at. Again, it was commented that we're going to defer some of the projects from 26 to 27 and then to 28. Is that the same streets that we're deferring a further year? Is that my understanding with those as well?
That is correct.
So yeah, I would support deferring this until we get the first blush at the budget, and hopefully the Watson study with sometime in October.
Through the mayor, I would just add that there is some engineering work that needs to be done before this application can be submitted. I'm not exactly sure how long that engineering takes, but we can't cut it too short if council does wish to proceed.
Councilor Neeb?
Thank you through the chair. I agree. I like the idea of getting more information, but based on my understanding of the state of the infrastructure in the ground, we do have to move. My understanding is that we will have to replace that infrastructure regardless of the fee study. We also don't know how long we'll have access to the MTO Connecting Link grants as well. So my perspective on this is I think we can walk and chew bubblegum. I think it is possible for us to get that report back, have a wholesome discussion, move forward with the engineering, because we do need to move forward with the engineering. Again, if we only have so much time to access these provincial grants, we need to be taking advantage of them. And if our staff are ready to go and ready to move forward, I think it'd be deferring is not wise at this time, but I am in favor of getting that information. I don't think getting that information will change the needs or requirements for downtown Exeter, though.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Guyverson, do you have a comment before it goes to Mr. Oak?
Yes, through you, Mayor Finch. The MTO Connecting Link applications are not an easy application. Most of the grant applications are done with no outside resources because we're capable of putting that information together, and we draw information out of studies and reports that already exist. But there's some specialized work that's required for the specific to the MTO, and that work is not easy to get, and it takes time. And although November 13th sounds like a long ways away, the schedule that you're discussing but waiting to see the budget and waiting to see the Watson report will not work. So if you choose not to move forward, we won't have time to put an application together. I would also say with the costing, the attempt, and we demonstrated with 2 projects already, to net out the cost increases. We demonstrated with the first Connecting Link project on Main Street North that we would, in our already 10-year forecast that you have now, we would defer, push back not just 1 year, but you push back the entire urban street reconstruction plan. You push everything back a year in order to facilitate, like free up the money for that project. So we're not adding money to those budgets. We're utilizing money that had already been forecasted. We're just changing the priority. So it's not a net increase. It does not impact the rate structures if we don't move forward with this. So, and the only other information that I would provide to council on the rate study, there's every indication you will not have a draft of the rate study in time to make the work that's necessary to make an application. We met with a consultant this morning. They are behind schedule. They're very challenged, and we don't have preliminary numbers even today. And by the time you have something for council to look at, the clock will run out. So it makes no difference to me if I put the work into submitting an application or not. But it's a little bit discouraging for the staff who lobbied very, very heavily with the MTO and put a lot of extra work into getting the limits increased. And the MTO was thrilled to call me to say, we're increasing the limits and encouraging us to apply. So there are implications if council decides like not to take advantage of these programs. I understand the financial concerns. We're talking a lot of money here. But you also have to put the trust in all of the staff. We have financial people on staff, very capable, competent people that work for the municipality. There's been lots of input in this from our treasurer, CAO, chief building official. We've all put our heads together for this and mapping out a good plan for the municipality so that you do not impact things like the rate study by shifting that entire capital program. And that capital program, because there's been such good work done over the years, council, have the ability to do this. Shift your priorities around as opportunities come up. And with the Connecting Link program, because I've worked here for so many years, I've seen the dry years, the drought where you couldn't get a penny for decades from Connecting Link. And then all of a sudden, just a few years ago, the program opened up. So the door is open, but the door can close very easily. And we've seen decades where there is no money for this kind of stuff. So, but I just want to make sure you have all the information that what you're desiring to have, which is really good to have a more complete picture, but it's just not going to be available.
And there's no guarantee, even if we make an application, that we're going to get the funding, correct? So it'd be a huge risk, is that what you're saying, not to apply? Is that what I'm reading?
Yeah, through you, Mayor Finch. Yeah, this is no guarantee. They've already given us approved two Connecting Link programs. So yes, this is, the request to apply, but we're in competition with everybody else. But if you don't apply, it's like you don't play, you can't, there's no opportunity to get money. Now there is a commitment, it's very clear. If you commit to apply, you're committing to move forward if they do approve the project. But yes, it's not a guarantee.
And that'd be a $5 million contribution from the province, correct? That we would be losing out on if we didn't apply.
We would be applying for the maximum. So yes, that's the upper limit is the 5 million.
Councilor.
Yeah, thank you. And yeah, I wanted to make a note that once you do apply, you're committed. So that's the other thing. And to Councillor Vaughn's comments, you know, between the three projects tonight that are on here, we're talking a commitment of $5 to $6 million from South Huron, which is a sizable amount on 4,000 households that are user of the water and sewer. So we want to make sure that we're not going to bankrupt, because I know the economy is slowing down and arrears are climbing on water and sewer and property taxes. So we don't want it to have such point where it's a tipping point that people can't afford water and sewer or food either. We have to be mindful of everybody's budget, but we also have to be able to grab some of these grants when we can, if they make sense. That's why, you know, I was waiting to get a little bit more information. We're deferring projects. My concern is they were in the 2026 budget. So in my mind, when something's in the 2026 budget, it is a priority that we need to get done. If we're deferring it 2 more years, it maybe wasn't a priority in 2026. The last study that was just done for the one that we just approved, intake 10, they did say the water and sewer were in fair condition. They didn't say poor. So our infrastructure, you know, I don't want to dig up the road twice to replace the pipes if it makes sense. But is there any indication of what these water and sewer pipes, are they going to be any different than what intake 10 was? You know, because if we can get another 10 or 15 years out of the water and sewer, maybe we don't have to necessarily put those in at the time, if we can get another 10 or 15 years out of a road once it's done. So
Through you, Mayor Finch, there's a lot to unpack there, but starting from the back and moving to the front, the water and sewer infrastructure is the same vintage. Off the top of my head, that's 1968 when that water main went in. It's ductile iron water main. It's failed. I have a very comprehensive engineering report on the intake 10 connecting link project. And you may also recall that that's also covered extensively in the master plan. So ductile iron water main pipe for many decades has been susceptible to corrosion. We've had some very extreme failures on that section of water main. It's been recommended in the previous master plan and in this current master plan for the water main to be replaced. So it's got the same issue the whole length of Main Street. So that will be a recommendation that'll come back every time you work on Main Street to replace the water main. You can't, if you keep extending it, you run the risk of new road ripped up or destroyed with water main breaks. And the sanitary sewer, well documented through the downtown area. A lot of it's the early 60s and 1963 sanitary sewer system that our friends at the ministry installed for the town of Exeter, and it runs through the backyards. There's houses built over top of it. There's all kinds of junk in the way. You're never going to be able to replace it through the backyards. It leaks like a sieve. We get lots of failures, blockages with we had high INI. It's just plagued with issues. Well documented as far back as I've read reports back in the 1990s from the town of Exeter about the state of the sanitary sewers. So there's no question, and it's well documented that when you do those projects, you're wasting your money by building a new road on top of that kind of stuff. Comment about the priorities for the road projects, they completely align with the state of the infrastructure, the SOI report, and the priority status for that. And that's why they're put forward. You are blessed. You are so lucky that there's been a comprehensive program for years, that you have tools to work with. You got flexibility to reprioritize projects. You're not in the dire situation where things are all going to crap, and like, you've got a great situation which allows you the flexibility. So the priorities, yes, they align with reports that have been presented to council. The need is there to do it. But there's been a lot of good work done over the last 20 years to get you to this point where you have options. And this one, you have a grant program that comes along. You got tools to work with, great options of saying, we can afford, let everything age another year and reallocate that money. So, but anyway, makes no difference to me. It's completely up to council whether you wish to apply or not.
So I see there's $5 million in the balance here, but at the risk. And if the project, or if the Connecting Link money doesn't come through next year, if they stop that program, we can no longer apply. Would that be a fair statement?
Through you, Mayor Finch, that is correct. If there's no program, then yeah, you're stuck with what you have along Main Street.
Councilor Neeb.
Just wanted to clarify something that I heard, and I just wanted to double check that I understood correctly. So because we've reprioritized some of these projects, that's all within the fee structure currently. So by doing these projects, we are not adding any new additional fees.
Through you, Mayor Finch, that is correct. We're not adding to that existing budget. The Councillor Vaughan is quite correct that the previous rate study is now 5-6 years in the rearview mirror. Our consultant is behind. We would have expected the rate study to be here long before this, but it's life. They face challenges. We don't have it. So this program was announced. It's an opportunity that's here now. I would rather be sitting here with the rate study already complete, and we know exactly what our situation is. But these forecasts, even from the rate study that was done, the previous one, they were forecasting those urban street reconstruction projects out for 15 years. So it's not like we're just looking at a short window and you add something in a short window. They have a very long forecast period. So readjusting priorities within kind of the framework of what the previous rate study was based on is the correct way to look at this.
Councillor.
Yeah, thanks, Don, for answering the questions I had there. Just a quick question. Was any of the connecting links and we're going to be talking about the London Road South Trunk Sanitary Sewer, were any of those included in the long-term Watson study 5 or 6 years ago? The connecting links or the
Through you, Mayor Finch, no, all the infrastructure that's on the connecting link is noted both in the master plans and in the rate studies, and even in the road condition study, as they were moved to the bottom of the priority list because they have 90% grant funding from the province. So every study that's been done, the master plan is the one that was the most recent, that specifically noted the need is there, but because the province is responsible for 90% of the funding, it was moved to a lower priority and specifically noted that if funding became available, then they would be moved up the priority list. So no, that's exactly the reason why they're not just added in, like added to the total. You reallocate from these other projects, and shifting the entire program, the whole 15 years is all shifted back further in order to reprioritize for this money. So the short answer, no, they are not included for that specific reason. because the province is responsible for the 90% of the road cost.
And what about the London Road trunk sewer?
Through you, Mayor Finch, the London Road South, the costing for it is not included in the rate study. It is extensively covered in the master plan, but it also is included in the master plan that it can only come forward if the demand is there or something changes. And what has changed is this grant program. And the municipal portion of that grant program is something that would be the development would pay for the the growth component of the of that grant program, but it is very real that if council agrees to debenture and borrow the money, there's going to be interest and principal and interest payments that has to be carried by the ratepayer or the taxpayer until the money is repaid by development. So it's not a whole net almost $2 million put on the taxpayer, but it would be the annual principal and interest payments that would be carried until the money's repaid.
Thank you. Councillor McLeod-Haggett.
Yes, through you, Mayor Finch. Don, you've actually answered a few of my questions from what Councillor Oak had. So I'll just comment and go back on, we keep going back to the ratepayers, and we have to be diligent in what we're requesting them to pay every quarter, given we have had multiple correspondences come into council over the past years on individuals struggling to pay what they're billed out every quarter.
Is that a question you're asking, or?
Through you, Mayor Finch. Yes, I think staff are very much aware of the ability to pay. So part of the reason why the rate study does need some more time is to fully examine the affordability part. Because we also have debentures that are being paid off and are coming due. So this, even for that particular project, the London Road South trunk, by acquiring another debenture and having principal and interest payments, we do have other debentures that are coming off the books. So it isn't always a net adding it on. So as by the time this project, we're already on to the next council report, but by the time that project is designed, tendered, approved, and circling around to when you would debenture it, you're a couple of years out. And we have other debentures that are getting towards the end and are coming off the books. So that would all be considered in the kind of in the financial picture of kind of how it's affordable. But the affordability part is definitely being considered.
Councillor Neep.
Thank you through the chair. And I think one thing that I keep in mind too, and why I'm in favor of moving forward, is there are costs to doing nothing. We've already seen the road, Main Street, dug up and new paving to go down. We already have water, stormwater getting into our sanitary sewer system. So those are costs to our taxpayers and our user fee payers. And to hear that we've been pushing it back and pushing it back. Well, we have an opportunity in front of us to move forward with a grant, which will hopefully, again, cushion any of the cost for our user fee payers. And we get to fix longstanding issues that are existing in the town of Exeter. So yes, there is a cost, but there's a cost to doing nothing. These problems will continue and they'll still be borne by our user fee payers and our taxpayers. So by not moving forward, we're risking not getting extra funding to cushion that blow for a necessary service that businesses rely on, residents rely on, and the municipality as a whole. We have businesses that are paying taxes in downtown Exeter with sewer systems from the 1960s. That's problematic. So to even have this idea that, no, let's hold off, that is not saying much to our staff or our residents or our businesses. That's why I'm in favor of moving forward.
So there is a risk, Mr. Giverson, that if we didn't move forward on this, that we could not get that funding. Plus the reliability of the system would be in jeopardy if there was no funding in the future, that it would be borne completely on the taxpayers to repair it continuously. Is that correct?
That is correct. I'd also want to give you a little further information on the sanitary sewer, because if the MTO Connecting Link funding disappears, then the need on the sanitary sewer is it's in a very extreme need. So if you proceed with the sanitary sewer separate from the Connecting Link project, then the cost would, like, you're talking doubling, tripling the cost, because all the road restoration now is borne by the taxpayer. Right now, 90% of the road cost would be funded by the province. So the costing on this is the least expensive way to do the water and sewer, where somebody else, the province of Ontario, is paying for all the road work, 90% of the road work. That's how Main Street North, and that's why even the current Connecting Link Intake 10 from the bridge up to Victoria, that's why those costs for water and sewer are as low as they are. They easily be double that if you had to also pay for the road restoration. So there's no road restoration costs in those numbers. That's all being paid by our friends at the province of Ontario, 90% of those costs. So if you're forced to replace the water or the sewer as they continue to age and deteriorate, then you made a conscious decision to pay the restoration cost. Because without the Connecting Link funding, you can't just call up the province and ask them to pay the money. And I can tell you that main break that occurred at Wellington, where you had the big patch of asphalt, that asphalt patch was worth about $25,000. So it's not that's just the asphalt. Those emergency repairs, things happen, they are a very painful and expensive thing, and it's all a throwaway cost. So that's why the staff are highly motivated when these opportunities come along. We don't want to waste. That's the last thing I want to do, is waste that money by putting a patch on Main Street. And so that's why this is being put forward.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I remember when that Wellington Road at Main Street went out, there was some upset business owners because of that. Councilor Oak, you had something?
Yeah, just one last comment, and I agree, Don. Whenever we have an opportunity to have upper tier help us out, we need to look at it. I guess my biggest concern, or my biggest disappointment, is the timeline that Watson has taken to do this study. This has been coming for like a year, and I don't know why. That they're working for us, and it doesn't seem like they are. We've got another consultant on another project that is taking forever as well. And, I just get disappointed when we don't have all the information to make some of these decisions, when we should have had the information several months ago. So that's my biggest concern on that.
Okay, thank you. Are there any questions? Councilor Vaughan, go ahead, please.
Yeah, I just want to make another comment here. Okay, so we've looked at intake 10, and we've made a scope change, which is adding $1.6 million in water sewer. Okay, so then we have intake 11, and that's basically talking about the road work and talking about some of the projects we'll have to change. And I think it even said into 2027 and maybe beyond, which I don't know what those projects might be. But if history repeats itself, the way these things work, in Marchish, June-ish timeframe of next year, we will see a scope change for intake 11, which again, not having the accurate figures, I can only go with an order of magnitude. We are likely looking at an additional $1.6 million in water and sewer, considering everything Don has told us in terms of if we're fixing pipes, they're probably all in similar shape type of thing. So if we're knowing all of those things can happen, when we move into the budget, I think we really need to look, if we have to make this decision without information from Watson, I think, should be identifying what other water and sewer projects we can defer, if at all, to pay for that $1.6 million that may come up if we're approved. Can I ask that staff look at that when they're going through the whole budget?
Mr. Garberson, comment?
To you, Mayor Finch, yes, and I already know the answer. You have it in front of you with even the approved 2025 capital. You have the information already. The urban street reconstruction program would all be shifted off back 1 year, and the numbers are all there as well. So we're not actually adding to the budget. You are reprioritizing. Something that was already forecasted for that budget year is being reallocated to the Connecting Link project. Not adding. You're reallocating. And you have the ability to do it because of all the good work that's been done. Just drive around Exeter and then drive around some other communities and see the state of their roads. So there's been a lot of good work done, which puts the municipality in this position where as grant programs come available, you can do this, you can shift priority. So it's not adding that additional money on, it's reallocating something that had already been forecasted for that budget year. And if you want to know the exact amount of money, my memory's not that good with the exact dollar amounts, but what we were deferring were either greater, well, in all cases, they were more money than what was allocated to these Connecting Link projects. So for the intake 10, I know off the top of my head, the sanitary sewer cost for the 5 streets was quite a bit more money. So you've actually, by shifting, you've lessened the burden. The water is roughly the same money and the same magnitude, the 674,000 in that magnitude. But you can also look at that 10-year forecast. It's there in the budget information. Like if we're successful on intake 11, if we apply and we're successful, and this rolls around again, then that you'd apply the same strategy. So it's not a net adding on; it's reallocating something that had already been forecasted for that year.
It'd be fair to say those roads were identified in the future budget because we didn't have Connecting Link funding, and because we are applying, if we do get that, we're no further behind, we're actually further ahead. Is that what you're suggesting? Because the $5 million would be most beneficial to the municipality.
Yes, we are actually further ahead because we've got the province paying 90% of the cost of the road that has a desperate need of having something done to it. And as we continue to age Main Street, we have a lot of maintenance costs. Like the amount of money that we're spending already on patch ups and repairs and crack sealing and fixing manhole, like we're spending a lot of maintenance money there. Just keep that going so that you can take advantage of when a grant program does come along. But short answer to your question, Mayor Finch, is yes. If we don't do this, we're actually worse off by not applying for this grant program.
And if we didn't get the grant money, we can still go ahead and do those other 5 roads anyways, correct?
That is correct. The normal program that was projected would be put forward to do in normal course of business. And that is already what's being put forward in the draft 2026 budget, which I do realize you haven't seen that. Council has not seen that, but that's what staff committed to do when we applied for the intake 10, that these streets would be that were planned for 26 would be shifted. And that is what's in the draft budget that's being prepared.
Thank you, Mr. Iverson. Mr. Earl.
So just to summarize, those 5 streets are moving from 26 to 27 for intake 10. And then if intake 11 is successful, they would be moving from 27 to 28. That same, so that's where the 1.6 or 2 million, somewhere in the range, 1.6-ish is coming from. Just to clarify.
Through you, Mayor Finch, that is correct.
Any other comments? Councillor Dietrich.
Thank you to the mayor. I have to agree with Don's theory. Like, it sounds to me like it's a maintenance thing. So, but this borrowing money, like, how much money is a municipality allowed to borrow? Is there a limit to it, or how is that handled?
Go ahead.
Through the mayor, there's a 25% of the ARL, which is allowed, although council has passed a policy setting it at 12.5% of the ARL. Right now, I think our acting treasurer is on, but right now I believe we're at about 9%. So we're under the 12.5, and it's allowed up to 25%.
And Mr. Giverson, would it be fair to say that the longer you put off these projects, the more expensive they become? Would that be a fair statement?
That is also correct. And we're facing some very, even though, and I totally respect that, like, the economy is slowing down, and we're all facing these same issues. But at the same time, we have a provincial government and a federal government that are doing the same playbook that we are making, that we've done, that it is when times are tough, this is the time to invest. So we're almost getting lectured by the federal government that, like, get moving and start investing in something. It does have risk, and it does involve some tough decisions, some difficult decisions. But these are the times to, like, this kind of activity and these kind of programs are not going to come along very often. And as time passes, and if there are more of these programs, you start, whenever there's an infusion of cash in these grant programs, as the provincial and the federal government kind of stoke the fires, if you don't get in early, the costs go up. So we face inflationary costs. We're in a damn tariff war with the US, and I can tell you the costs are showing up. So we face normal cost of living or construction index cost increases. We've got some very unusual times we're in. The longer we wait, the more expensive things get. And if things intensify with what I hear from the province and the feds, longer we wait, the more that costs are going to go up, is what I hear.
And Mr. Giverson, is it fair to say that it'll be a very competitive process with those with connecting links across the province, that everybody who's got a connecting link will likely be applying for that increase? Because it went from 3 million to 5 million on your advocacy, correct?
Through you, Mayor Finch, it wasn't only me advocating for the increases. There were many other voices, but yes, there is a lot of competition for connecting link money. And I can also tell you, typically, you don't get approved back to back. So it was a bit of a surprise that we even got the intake 10. The consultants that worked with us to make that grant application, I should have bet them a Tim Hortons coffee, because they were like absolutely convinced, because they had not seen this before, that typically you don't get back-to-back approvals. So we got our Connecting Link money for Main Street North, and then we were successful again for intake 10. So there's fierce competition for the Connecting Link money. So this is not a slam dunk. This is not a sure thing we're going to get the money. And the odds are it typically not doling it out back to back.
In the worst case scenario, we just go back to the other 5 roads. Mr. Go ahead.
Yeah, just a question. It was brought up our debt level that council has put a ceiling at 12.5%. So we've got 3 projects tonight in front of us, potentially 2 of them that are, you know, that we've got grant approval and 1 we're applying for. If we're successful for this intake 11 plus the other 2 that if they go ahead, where will that leave us with our debt ceiling covering the amounts that we might have to come up with?
Through the mayor, I can give some
Approximate. Yeah.
approximately right now. Based our ARL is currently, as I said, 9% of net revenues, which would be a little bit like about $6.5 million. Our current net debt charges are just over 2 million, which means we have room for a little over 4 million to reach that 12.5.
So we're looking at a little over $5 million here with these 3 projects roughly. So that would take us over our commitment because we're looking at 1.6 and around 2 million for the enabling.
Aaron, would you be able to respond to that?
Through you, Mayor Finch, just to clarify what Rebecca said. So the 4 million space that we have would get us to the limit of 25%. So it would be above the 12.5% limit that we've set.
So yeah, so I guess that's the question I have is with these approvals tonight, we're going outside of what we've got approval for our debt ceiling. Is that correct?
We'd be through you, Mayor. We'd be above the limit that we've set for ourselves. That council set at 12.5.
Yeah, so we need to address that then too, because we're breaking our own policy.
Aaron, would you be able to respond?
Through you, Mayor, I agree that would be the case, but we're not in that position yet because as Don explained, there is the time process to get to where you would be doing the debt and we would have some go off. So we would have to do a further analysis as to what the debt would be at that time, as we do have a few that are will be ending in the next couple of years.
Mr. Giverson, thanks, Aaron. Go ahead.
Through you, Mayor Finch, just to add just some clarity to this. There's only 1 project that we're proposing debt. Not all of these projects. It's only the Enabling Housing Grant Program, just 1, and it's this just under 2 million. So it's only the 1 project.
No, we just passed intake 10 for the new scope. So that was another project tonight for the change in scope. And if we pass the intake 11, we're committing to that. So that is potentially taking on more debt that we have to, I know we're just doing the application, but if we're successful with the intake 11, we're committing to it.
Mr. Giverson?
Are we not?
Through you, Mayor Finch, the Connecting Link projects do not involve any debt. There's no debt. We're not borrowing that money. That money is already available in those reserves. It's only the Enabling Housing Grant Program that we made clear from when we applied twice already. That is the only program where we're proposing to use debt because the money is not there in the reserve. So it's just the one project. Connecting Link, no debt.
Just one moment. Councillor Neeb, you got a comment?
I was just going to say that that's already been forecasted way out with reserves and our master plan as well with those fees for the MTO. So I was just going to echo that.
Councillor Oak?
And correct. Thank you, Don, for the clarification on that. The other thing that we have in that's coming to council, one of these meetings, is the Dashwood Fire Hall, where there's debt proposed with it. And is that included in the 9% number, that debt, or is that to come yet? That is being proposed here as well.
Ms. Moore, could you take that?
Through you, Mayor Finch, that is not included in this. So the 9% is not the official ARL. It's what is calculated when we complete our financial information return. So that's the 2024 limit for actual debt incurred with our actual net revenues for 2024.
Okay, thank you. Any other questions at all? Okay, not seeing any. Thank you very much, staff, for your comprehensive comments. That's excellent. And thanks to council for the discussion. If there's no further discussion, we have a mover and a seconder. I'll call the question. All in favor? Opposed? Okay, I wonder if we have three, so that fails at this point. Thank you. Oh, no, we're already done, Councillor Dietrich. We're already done. The discussion is done.
Okay, well, can still ask the question.
Not after
Sorry,
this.
he has had his hand up a couple times, Mayor Finch.
Oh, I never saw it. I never saw you. But we already had the vote. That's the challenge. On the agenda? Okay. Okay, so. Okay, thank you. So we've, that motion fails. Next item, please.
To add a capital budget for the London Road South Trunk Sanitary Sewer Project in the amount of $7,352,500, and that South Huron Council waives the requirement of the procurement of goods and services policy for the engineering services, and that South Huron Council authorize external borrowing to fund the municipal portion of the London Road South Trunk Sanitary Sewer Project in the amount of $1,985,175.
And a mover, please. Moved by Councillor Neeb, seconded by Councillor Oak. Any discussion? Councillor Vaughn, go ahead, please.
Thanks for the report, Don. I my questions are really kind of about at the last paragraph or so of your report, you talked about this project actually paving the way for 2,100 new residences or units. And from the maps and from the other discussion in your report, it sounded like we were primarily focusing on trunk sewer from Waterloo and Mary up through the Snyder and off to the Snyder pumping station. And so Rebecca happened to give us all these little maps. And so my question is, maybe by the numbers on the map. Do you have a map like this? It's in your, okay. If you could just give us an idea of where that growth would actually happen as a result of this project.
Yeah, so through you, Mayor Finch, so the numbers I don't have memorized, but on your map, it's all the land that's
Sure.
okay. So it'd be areas 4, 5, 6, 7. And then the area that's in the lighter pink, which is labeled as future development, London Road South trunk sewer. So it's all of this land, the land behind HMP, which is 6, the McBride land on behind the Toyota dealership on this side, and then there's more land over on this side. So 4, 5, 6, 7, and then the large pink area are the service areas for the London Road South trunk sewer.
Okay, so some of this is, my interpretation is that some of this is paving the way for that 2,100 new homes. Because I'm not too sure if we have the water infrastructure, because usually sewer and water go together for homes. So to actually get to the potential of 2,100 homes, we'd be wanting to do some more projects that actually relate to water to actually be able to blow out to that 2,100. Is that correct?
Through you, Mayor Finch, that is correct. The existing water infrastructure, the water tower is the limiting factor, can only go so far to the east. So all of these parcels that are on the west side of Main Street, all of those, the McBride lands, the Shapton lands, so 4, 5, 6, and then 7, and I don't know, about half of the pink area can all be serviced by the existing water infrastructure. But as development goes further east towards Morrison Line, you will need the higher water tower.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you. Any other questions? Okay, not seeing any. We have a mover and a seconder. If there's no further discussion, call the question. All in favor? That carries with 5. Thank you. Next item, please.
The South Huron Council received staff report ITSI 03-2025 Rural Ontario Development Program, and that staff submit a funding application to Rural Ontario Development Program in support of a South Huron Community Improvement Plan.
And a mover, please. Moved by Councillor Neeb, seconded by Councillor McLeod-Haggett. Any discussion? Call the question. All in favor? And that carries with 6. Thank you. Next item, please.
That South Huron Council received staff report CL 14-2025 Columbarium Tender Award, and the council award the tender for the supply and install of 184 niche columbarium and site preparation and pour of columbarium foundation to Grace Monuments Inc. in the amount of $40,680, HST included.
And a mover, please. Moved by Councillor McLeod-Haggett, seconded by Councillor Neeb. Any discussion? Call the question. All in favor? And that carries with 6. Thank you. Next item.
The South Huron Council received staff report CL 15-2025 Council Remuneration Review for information.
And a mover, please. Moved by Councillor Oak, seconded by Councillor Neeb. Any discussion? Call the question. All in favor? That carries with 6. Thank you. And item number 11, any notice of motions, Madam Clerk?
There are none.
Thank you. Items for discussion arising from previous meeting, and none there. New business, 13.1, please.
We need a volunteer that someone be appointed to the Court of Revision for the Pickering Municipal Drain, North Middlesex, on Wednesday, October 15th, 2025 at 5:30 p.m. Okay.
Sorry, we have a mover then. Councillor Neeb moves, seconded by Councillor Oak. Any discussion? Call the question. All in favor? I'll be attending that. Thank you. Okay, item number 14. Mayor and councillor comments. Are there any comments from members of council? Councillor Oak.
Thank you, Mayor. Just as a wrap up, I'd like to thank all the volunteers for a successful Kirkton Fair that was held last weekend or the weekend before, and it was great weather, huge success, and just thank all the volunteers that put their heart and soul into that community and that event, and so thank members of council that were there.
Okay, anything else? Councillor Dietrich.
Thank you to the mayor. I just want to echo what Councillor Oak said. I was there to Kirkton Fall Fair, and I was impressed. Small village in a rural area, like they really went all out. It was, in fact, I've been to different fall fairs, and I think they're quite competitive. Just wanted to mention that.
Thank you. Anyone else? Councillor McLeod Haggett.
Yes, through you, Mayor. I also, for the first time, attended the Kirkton Fall Fair. It was a great event, talked to many people throughout. And a lot of the ones that I spoke to actually don't even live in this area, which I was shocked. So it was quite exciting to see how many people actually come the distance they did to attend this one. And the amount of people that were there for the tractor pull, I'll be honest, I had no idea what that was, but that place was packed. And again, a lot of those people that were there are not from this area. So it was great seeing a lot of families come in from all over to enjoy the Kirkton Fall Fair.
Okay, anyone else have anything? Okay, you're not seeing any, so what's the mayor been up to? So yeah, I attended the Kirkton Fall parade there and fair and had the privilege of participating in the actual parade. And this community is just another example of a community that really understands the importance of working across boundaries, and is why the Kirkton Fair and other events back there are so successful year after year. The next day on September 7th, I was invited by Stephen Owen, the Community Engagement Coordinator for Central Region for Parkinson's Society Southwest Ontario, to participate in a fundraising walk with Mayor Doug Cook from Lambton Shores. There were many members of the public from different communities present, and the walk went from Grand Bend Legion to the pier and back. And the dedicated volunteers and corporate sponsors in the Grand Bend Exeter area raised over $12,000, which is $2,000 in excess of their 2025 projections. On September 9th, I attended the Avon-Maitland District School Board General Meeting in Seaforth to support several community members and spokesperson Marnie Van Esbrook on the discussion of the before and after program at our schools here in South Huron and in Blue Water. Marnie did an excellent job in her presentation. As you may know, I've been pursued the discussion at the county on the 3rd of September, and county council were in favor of advocating for the program as well. I'm hopeful we at the county will have a delegation with the Ministry of Education at Roma to encourage the ministry to make the program a core service and remove any wording such as need or viability when it comes to the program, since the program itself has become a part of Ontario's social fabric. And I've asked Ms. Van Esbrook to forward the letter she presented to the board to our councils, both Blue Water and the county, so we can continue to advocate as well. On September 11th, I paid respect to former Usborne Councillor Brian Hardiman at the Lockhart Funeral Home in Mitchell. And I can tell you that the family was extremely grateful that we lowered the flags to half-mast in honor of Brian's years of dedicated service, since he helped build Usborne Township into what we now call a part of South Huron. Special thanks to Mr. Curry, who's here tonight, who created a very personal tribute to honor Councillor Hardiman on our behalf and on our website. A great personality is how I would describe Brian, who will always be remembered as a champion for the community and one that saw value in everyone. And this past Saturday, I participated in the Hello Neighbor event at the Dashwood Community Center, where several workers from Haters Turkeys and another company received their certificate in English as a second language. And our staff did a great job of working with many partners from across the region to celebrate our diversity and unity at the same time, as many locals attended to join in on these festivities. So thanks to our staff, Stacey Jeffrey, for making this a memorable experience for that community. And on Sunday, I participated in the annual Terry Fox Run at McNaughton Park, a very well-ran event, all done by volunteers and a dedicated community. And that concludes my highlights as the mayor, what I've been up to. And although there are other things I could talk about, these were the highlights. So there's nothing further. We move on to correspondence. And Ms. Basula Carlson.
15.1. 15.2.
Well, that's
15.3. 15.4.
Pull.
15.5.
Bull.
15.6. 15.7. 15.8.
okay, very well. 15.2, I asked for that to be pulled. I'm just looking for staff or a comment on that as far as support in what the discussion is on the expansion.
Through the mayor, we have had different residents that have come to council before asking about Enbridge gas expansion into the municipality. I think it would be worthwhile to at least do the resolution and a letter of support. I did reach out to Huron County and they're having the same correspondence on their agenda for Wednesday. And if council does want to proceed with doing a submission, I had talked to them maybe about doing a similar submission so that we could submit as a region. So anyway, I do have some background for that if that's the way council wants to go. But I would suggest at least a resolution and a draft letter of support.
Okay, Councillor Oak.
Yeah, I agree. Start with a resolution from us, but if they're moving ahead to tie together, that would be more powerful for sure.
Okay, thank you. So you'll move a resolution. I'll wait for the Madam Clerk to prepare that.
So just for clarification, is council looking to support the draft council resolution included in the package?
Yes.
That South Huron Council support draft resolution included in the Enbridge September 5th correspondence package.
So move, Councillor Oak.
I so move.
It's seconded by Councillor Neeb. Any discussion? Call the question, all in favor? And that carries with 6. Thank you. Next item, 15.4, Councillor McLeod-Haggett.
Yes, through you, Mayor Finch. I would look to move that we support the Exeter Lawn Bowling and give them the letter of support that they would require for the seniors grant application.
Okay, we'll prepare that recommendation here.
That South Huron Council provide a letter of support for the Exeter Lawn Bowling Club's 2025 application for the New Horizons for Seniors Grant.
So move, Councillor McLeod-Haggett. Thank you. Seconded by Councillor Vaughn. Any discussion? Call the question, all in favor? Carries with 6. Thank you. 15.5, Councillor Neeb.
Yep, thank you, Mayor Finch. Through the chair, I had the opportunity to speak with Heather Dunlop today about the Benjamin Elliott home at the south end of Exeter. As a member of the Heritage Committee, it's been disappointing to not be able to have had a conversation as a committee about listing or designating the property due to changes within the Heritage Act that prevented the committee to consider a property and process with an application. You'll recall that there were some changes with the Heritage Act that once a property had an application on it or a zoning application on it that we were not able to, as a council or as a committee, to make any recommendations about listing or designating a property. It's unfortunate that this property was neither listed or designated prior to the property being purchased. And this represents, I think, a lesson to all in the municipality who value built heritage architecture to ensure that properties that are eligible for designation and protection are listed and designated. So I believe, and I think I'm speaking for the committee, that our built heritage in South Huron is unique, but it's also fragile. And I think it's important that as a council, we look for ways to preserve, enhance, and animate our built heritage as it makes us different from other communities. And in discussion with other members of the committee, one of the biggest disappointments that we have with the changes is that it takes the conversation out of this process. Like we are not able to have a conversation about the heritage value of certain properties because we're limited by the Act. Now, my understanding is since the zoning change, the holding symbol has been placed on the property, and that a process could start now to look at either listing or designating the property. And in conversation with some of the members of the committee, they would like to have, I think, that conversation. And so I'm wondering if we can forward this correspondence onto the Heritage Advisory Committee, but also maybe just looking to staff to like whether or not there is a move forward for listing or designating the property from the committee or even from council. I'm just wondering what the process would be, because I think it is important that we do have a conversation about it as council. I think it's a democratic way of moving forward. We do have heritage properties in South Huron that are listed and designated, and it is important that we do our due diligence. So I'm just wondering from staff what would be the process.
So through the mayor, so the Ontario Heritage Act does provide a specific process outlining the way to go about designating properties. A notice of intention, if that's something council wish to pursue, would need to be agreed to, passed by council to proceed with a notice of intention to designate a property. That can be dealt with either by an application brought forward from the property owner as a request for designation. The Act does provide that council has the jurisdiction to proceed with a notice of intent without the property owner's consent. There's a whole process for notice periods, objection opportunities. The Heritage Community Advisory Committee would be involved in providing recommendation if that's something council were to proceed with before council would make its decision. There are also appeal rights available to members of the public as well as the property owner in that instance, and the appeals go through the Ontario Land Tribunal.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Any further discussion on that? Okay, not seeing any. Next, oops, sorry, somebody have something?
Through the mayor,
Go ahead.
just for clarification, were you doing a resolution to forward the correspondence to the
Sure. Yeah,
advisory committee?
Yeah, I'd like to make that resolution to forward it on to the committee.
Okay, we'll wait for Madam Clerk to prepare that.
That Heather Dunlop's correspondence regarding Benjamin Elliott House demolition be forwarded on to the Heritage Advisory Committee.
So moved.
So moved.
Councillor Neeb, seconded by Councillor Oak. Any discussion? Call the question, all in favor? And that carries with 5. Thank you. And the next item, 15.7, I asked for that be pulled. Is there any discussion on that to support that resolution? Councillor Neeb?
Yep, I'll support that resolution.
Great, thank you. I'll let this, oops, sorry.
My only comment, and I support it as well, but my only comment would be to add our schools. It only talked about Blue Water Coast in the school and not the ones that are affected in South Huron. Could we add those as in addition?
Yeah, so we'll have it moved first and then I'll come back to you for a second on that.
That South Huron Council supports the Municipality of Blue Water September 2nd, 2025 resolution regarding closure of before and after school programs, and that South Huron Council voices similar concerns regarding the programs within its boundaries of South Huron, and then a copy of the supporting resolution and originating documents be circulated to the Premier, Minister of Education, and PP Thompson and all Ontario municipalities.
So move, Councillor Neeb.
So move.
Seconded by Councillor Oak. Correct? Any
Yes.
discussion? Call the question, all in favor? That carries with 6. Thank you. Recommendation, please.
That South Huron Council receives communication items not otherwise dealt with.
And a mover, please. Moved by Councillor Vaughn, seconded by Councillor Neeb. Any discussion? Call the question, all in favor? Carries with 6. Thank you. And next item.
That South Huron Council gives first, second, third, and final reading to bylaw 54, 2025, being a bylaw to authorize entering into an agreement with Simply Voting Inc. for the provision of an internet and telephone voting system for the 2026 municipal election.
And a mover, please. Moved by Councillor Neeb, second by Councillor McLeod Haggett. Any discussion? Call the question, all in favor? Carries with 6. Thank you. And next item.
That South Huron Council gives first, second, third, and final reading to bylaw 55, 2025, being a bylaw to confirm matters addressed at the September 15th public and regular council meetings.
Mover, please. Moved by Councillor Dietrich, seconded by Councillor Oak. Any discussion? Call a question. All in favor? Carries with 6. Thank you. And adjournment.
Let South Huron Council hereby adjourn at 7:40 p.m. to meet again on October 6, 2025 at 6 p.m. or at the call of the chair.
And a mover, please. Councillor Need moves, seconded by Councillor Dietrich. No discussion. Call the question. All in favor? Carries with 6.